I would like to begin by acknowledging the traditional custodians of the land on which we meet today, the Arakwal people of the Bundjalung Nation, and pay my respects to the elders past, present, and emerging. Are you ready to win at the game of life? Well, throw out that rulebook and get down to the business of being the best and most authentic version of you. Welcome to the Human Design Podcast. We're changing the rules around success, abundance, purpose, love, and life, where we're creating a planet where everyone can thrive in a world that loves and supports each other. I'm your host, Emma Dunwoody, a qualified master coach, human design expert, podcaster, and entrepreneur that is living the life of my dreams, breaking all the rules while doing it, making a huge impact, and living my design and manifesting miracles on the daily. Join me as I break down and simplify everything you need to live in alignment with your human design, teach you how to recondition your unconscious mind for greatness, and to take back your power so you can manifest your heaven on earth and serve the rest of the planet at the same time. It's time to give up the fear and step into your highest potential, to reach for the stars, to know and live your greatness. It's what you deserve, and it's what the planet really needs from you. So buckle up and enjoy the ride. Remember Angie Lee from episode 346? You know the one, the highly successful reflector that has mastered marketing. She's mastered entrepreneurship and business, speaking, and so much more. Well, Angie and her boxer and entrepreneur brother Mike have created a line of CBD products to help people heal physical pain and anxiety. Angie actually sent me some of her sleepy gummies and CBD oil drops back before I interviewed her, and they were an absolute game changer for me. Since going through early menopause, my sleep had never been as good as it had been before I went through it. But taking their sleepy gummies has been a game changer, and I feel like my sleep is finally back and I'm feeling better than ever. In fact, funny story, Taylor actually tried out their out-of-office THC gummies while she was over there in the US, because obviously she's not allowed to bring them home to me in Australia. And she was not only like super chilled out, really it helped her mind slow down and be pretty quiet, which is not very often for her. And she managed to sleep for 12 hours straight. So they were super good. Soul CBD products are designed to address physical pain and anxiety, as these are the challenges that Angie and Mike understand firsthand and struggled themselves with for a long time until creating these products to heal themselves. Their promise to you is that with Soul CBD products, that firstly, wellness never tasted so good. And all their products are scientifically formulated to maximize bioavailability and effectiveness. Everything is grown in the US, organically farmed and gluten-free, and they triple test all their batches for potency and safety. Soul CBD are the real deal, made by amazing humans with a sincere mission and high standards to deliver quality and results. So if you want to get your hands on some of these beauties, then follow the link in the show notes for more information. Hey everyone, and welcome to today's episode. Well, whoa. What a couple of weeks we've had. How are you? I'm pretty sure that's how I started the last episode, but honestly, how are you? It has been some crazy times, really big energy going on. Hopefully, like me, you're feeling that you've kind of popped out the other side of it now. And hopefully, you looked into the face of some really old patterns that needed healing and letting go of. That was definitely my experience and definitely what was going on in the collective. So I'm sending all my love to all of you. And for those of you who are in my HDX community and were present on last week's call, I just want to say a huge thank you for holding space. It was amazing how many newbies we had after our recent launch. And wow, you kind of got thrown straight into what Emma's all about. It was definitely a deep and vulnerable sharing about what was going on in my life, as well as some epic coaching sessions for my HDX members. So thank you all for being a part of that. I really do appreciate all of you. I love you so much. I love my HDX collective. I love you listening. I love every single human that follows my work and that my work is helping and supporting you. And by the way, if you're one of those people, please can you hit the follow button? Can you please leave us a 5-star review on whatever platform you're listening on, because it really does make a huge difference. Thank you. So today, what I thought I would do is I want to share something that I was reminded of over these couple of weeks. One of the most powerful principles we can live by that will absolutely change your life, that will shift you from struggle to power in the blink of an eye. And then I'm going to talk a little bit about what we can learn from line 1's. The reason why I'm kind of putting it in this frame is I think sometimes with human design, we think, well, I'm not a line 1, so that's irrelevant to me. Or I'm not a fill in the blank, that's not irrelevant to me. And in fact, that's not true. When we think about, let's say, profile, our profile lines are our natural talents, our natural superpowers, our natural learning ability, the natural way that we move through life. However, we are always learning from all the line numbers. You know, like you might not necessarily have to experiment as much as I have to experiment as a line 3, but you are still, encouraged to learn through trial and error. Okay. Like that's what I'm here to teach. So I think sometimes in human design, we're like, well, that's not my energy, so I don't need to do it. We are actually always learning from everybody else, and especially in the line numbers that we're not, because it's where we are not naturally designed to operate that way. So for example, I am not a line 1. And one of the greatest lessons that I've learned over time is being able to fill in the gaps. So line 1's are all about answering the question or filling the knowledge gap or whatever they need to create a safe foundation. They find the information, the research, the knowledge, whatever they need to close that gap and create that beautiful foundation. Now, does that mean only line 1's need to do that? No, not at all. Oftentimes you might find yourself, or go and check out the coach you're working with. What's their profile? What are they here to teach you? Are they here to help you put down a new foundation? Or maybe you don't even know, because once the mind gets involved, you think, well, I think I need a new foundation, so I'm going to go and find a line 1 coach. It doesn't work that way. We have to follow our strategy and authority to the people that are correct for us. Interestingly, there's a coach I've wanted to work with for a very long time. And this particular coach has been in retirement for a number of years. And I think I may have convinced this person to coach me. And then I didn't go out of my way, check out this person's design first, and then decide what I needed. I let my strategy and authority lead me there. So, line 1's, what are they here to teach us? They're really here to teach us that the power of information, the power of knowledge, the power of creating really strong foundations. They're also here to teach us from their shadow perspective that sometimes we have to move even when we feel like we don't have all the information that we need. So this is the thing. What's going on in your life right now when it comes to foundations? Maybe like me, you're creating a new foundation, something very, very new. But there's a part of you that, although your adult conscious brain, although your vision for the future, everything feels really aligned, you're still demonstrating these old behaviors, which means there's a part of you in there that still needs healing. It's your inner child experiencing trauma. And I had a really big shift. I feel like a real final movement last week. When I did a friend of mine, in fact, a couple of friends of mine, quite by coincidence, one asked me one question, then the next asked me a different question, and the two questions, of course, were completely connected to each other. That really helped me identify that I had this unconscious connection to my father. And in that, I was trying to behave like my father in a particular situation, completely unconsciously. I had not worked it out consciously until this moment. And then once I'd made that connection, had that awareness, cried a lot, also cried in HDX. And then I have this freedom to move through to this new foundation. So I'm at this new foundation, and what have I learnt about that? Well, first of all, is there any founded fears? Are there gaps that need filling? As a line 3, I'm not really sure until I go and experiment with things. So I'm going to go and do that in my own way. But what I love that so many of the line 1s in my life demonstrate is that they focus on creating a strong foundation. They don't get too ahead of themselves. I have a habit of getting too ahead of myself. So I really am, just paying attention to creating this foundation. I have 2 line 4s as well. I'm not talking about line 4s today, but the line 4s really teach me to create the foundations in the relationships that I have around me. So I'm often looking to my friends and my family and the people close to me and their natural gifts, their natural line numbers, and seeing what I can learn from their natural talent. So the spiritual principle, and it's not just a spiritual principle, it is 100% something that when we manage our mindset, we manage our reality. And that is the art of acceptance. And I do say art because when we're unconscious, we often feel like we experience a lot of pain. And we experience pain and struggle in our lives where we are not in acceptance. We are not accepting what is. What is. We are upset, we're struggling, we're fighting against something that isn't the way we want it to be. The moment we step out of that place of what we want it to be and into acceptance, we shift from being the victim in many cases, this victim of, well, these things are going on in my life. This is happening and that's happening and it should be like this and it should be like that. And then we actually move into a place of when we accept what is, right, wrong, good or bad, all of a sudden we take the power back and we let go of the struggle. One of the things that we're doing right now, if you're listening to this podcast, you're doing it too. That is, you're raising your consciousness. You are moving from fear to love. You are learning to dance with life. You're learning detachment, surrender, and the power of acceptance. Something for me, I get asked a lot how I use my human design in everyday life. And honestly, I don't use it that much anymore until I hit a roadblock or I feel stuck or I'm looping. I think that's one of the things as I separate from my husband. I've got so much inner child stuff to do with my mum that coming up, last week was my dad. And that's great, and we have to move through it. But if we're still looping, and I was doing a lot of looping, we want to look at this principle, acceptance. Acceptance. Am I going to choose to accept how things are right now? Or am I going to continue to tell the stories in my head about how I think they should be? Because ultimately, I have no control over option number 2, how I think they should be. That is out of my influence. Acceptance. Can I choose to accept how things are right now? Oh my goodness, yes. I absolutely can. And when I got to a place of acceptance last week, that was actually where I had all of these breakthroughs and awarenesses and inner child healings and all of these things that actually needed to be processed so that I can move to the next stage. And, to be honest, my adult cognitive, awake part of me, higher self, I just needed the rest of me to catch up, and acceptance was this beautiful pathway to do that. Am I going to choose to accept what is right now? Because that's where the power lies. Because ultimately, when we learn and we build the muscle of acceptance, and as I said, it doesn't make things, it doesn't make us powerless, but can we accept life as it is right now? Because when we can, then we can learn to dance with life. When we can, opportunities open up, new ideas. We access higher frequency ideas, opportunities, relationships, all the things, solutions. So what I would encourage you to look at this week is what specific struggle is going on in your life right now? What are you struggling with? What have you got a grip on? How are you determined that something should be different than it is? And then I want you to ask yourself, am I going to choose to accept this as it is right now? Because when we can learn to accept what is right now, magic happens. This is where awakening happens. This is where the heart can step in, the higher self can step in. It's an incredibly powerful place to be. All right, that's it from me today. So this week, I want you to play around with acceptance. I want you to answer those questions and really look to what you've learnt or could learn from the line 1's in your life. Thanks, everyone. I trust you got what you needed from today's episode. Bye for now. Thanks, everyone, for being here all the way to the end of the podcast. I hope you got lots of value out of it. I certainly had a lot of fun doing it. Could I please ask that you share this podcast with friends if you found it valuable? And also, bonus points, could you leave a review for me as well on Apple? It would be greatly appreciated. If at any point you would like to be on the podcast or you've got questions that you'd like me to discuss on the podcast, by all means, get on my socials and DM me. Everything you need is there in the show notes. Have an awesome day. Bye for now.